Mock Draft Monday, and it's draft week, Justin. We are going to do our Dueling Mock Drafts, a Music City Audible tradition. So let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. And Justin, it's draft week. We finally made it. We're just a few days away, and I thought it's Monday, it's draft week. There's no better time for us to debut, or I guess put out our final Titans mock drafts, all 7 rounds. We're each going to do one, so we get 2 sort of situation scenarios to compare here. How's it going?
Doing well. It's exciting to finally be here on draft week. It's Monday, as you said, if you guys are watching this episode on its release day, which of course you are, because you're an addicted Titans fan that can't wait for this mock draft and can't wait for the draft to start this Thursday. So really excited that we finally made it.
Yeah, me too. So I think without further ado, we don't need a bunch of pleasantries here, Justin. Let's just dive right in. We are using the Draft Network's mock draft machine. And Justin, real quick before we start, I've done PFF simulator mock drafts. I've done mock draft machine mock drafts. I used somebody created like a new one that a couple weeks ago that I was trying out. I think Draft Network, and I'm not just saying this because you work there, to me, it feels the most realistic. Now, obviously, we have no idea what's going to happen on draft night, but when I run through like at least the first round specifically, doing my own mocks here, it just feels the closest to what we've seen all the mock drafts from all the big analysts putting out. That doesn't mean it's going to happen or it's really necessarily right, but I personally have enjoyed using the Draft Network's mock draft machine more than any other site over the last week or so.
And I couldn't be thrilled with the final product. It moves smoothly, efficiently. It looks great. It's clean. It's crisp. It's smooth. It's effective. It's realistic. All the compliments that you gave. So really, really love it. If you guys haven't given it a chance, all you need is a free account to take it for a spin. So make sure you head over to the Draft Network and hop on the mock draft machine. Now's the perfect week to do it.
Didn't mean for that to turn into sort of a Draft Network mock draft machine commercial there. Sorry, listeners, but it's the truth. You guys got to know what's happening. So let's get into it. Obviously, I am drafting for the Titans, so let's go ahead and start this thing here. Obviously, we've talked about it ad nauseum. We know who the Titans are going to pick, so we're not going to spend and waste everyone's time talking about why. I am selecting Miami quarterback Cam Ward with the first pick. And now we wait. We watch these players fly off the board, and we hope that one of the receivers we love, Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, oh, there goes Luther Burden, hopefully one of these guys makes it, or maybe one of the edge rushers, because I know it's not ideal to draft for need over best player available, but we are in a situation where Titans sort of have no choice here. So let's see. Emeka Egbuka and Luther Burden both went off the board. James Pierce Jr. is sitting here. Now, I don't love the wide receiver value here, Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins. I could see the argument for Jaden Higgins. Personally, I'm not as high on him as a prospect. I don't view him as a top of the second round guy. I would view him more late second to third round. Kyle Williams, I love Kyle Williams, but again, it just feels a little early here. If James Pierce Jr. was also off the board, I think I might just go ahead and take the reach for Kyle Williams. I should also point out to our listeners, we are not making trades. We're not doing any mock trades in this particular draft. We're just going to pick the picks that as they are laid out. Not because we don't think the Titans will trade, just it's so unpredictable. It feels kind of pointless to mock it. Right. So, Justin, I'm going to take James Pierce Jr. here. Obviously, the character concerns exist, but I think I'm swinging for the fences here with the upside.
Yeah, high risk, high reward, right? When he was at his best on tape, he's a first-round talent. He's long, he's athletic, he's got great bend, he's speed to win the corner. The alleged character concerns are the issue here that might push him down the board. We don't know how Mike Borgonzi feels about that yet. We're going to learn. We know in Kansas City, they rolled the dice on a lot of guys with character concerns. How Borgonzi felt, we don't know. We're going to find out soon as he runs the show here in Tennessee. But certainly I could see them taking a chance on him because, again, I think he's a first-round pass rusher on tape. It really just comes down to, whether or not, they're comfortable with the reported off-field stuff.
Right. I totally agree. And I think, I could see a situation where given the state of this roster, this regime doesn't feel as comfortable taking that risk. Like maybe they want to take the safer, what would be perceived as the safer play versus trying to hit a home run with James Pierce. But I also think, if he becomes just a third down rush specialist, that's okay because of what the upside is. If you can tap in and figure out what those character concerns are and be comfortable with it and get the most out of him. If you're able to find a true impact edge rusher in the same draft that you get your franchise quarterback, that could accelerate the rebuild so much that I'm willing to take the risk. All right, here we are in the 4th round, our 3rd pick of this draft. Go to the receivers here because I'm not going to neglect our quarterback any longer. In fact, I'm going to make our rookie quarterback as comfortable as possible. I don't know if this is a little early, and you tell me after I make this pick, but I am going to be taking Miami's Xavier Restrepo here with the 1st pick of the 4th round.
Yeah, I don't think it's too early. I mean, I know he ran a lackluster 40, pushed him down the board a bit, but I don't think that's going to make him a 5th or 6th round pick, for example. I think the 4th round's probably where he's going to go. And of course, the chemistry between him and Cam Ward makes this a very viable selection. I've spoken to Xavier Restrepo a lot throughout this process, and let me tell you, he loves Cam Ward. So this pick makes a lot of sense.
As we are on the clock now with the 18th pick of the 4th round, our second of 2 4th-round picks, there's a lot of positions. Like, I think this is the point in the draft where I'm going to start looking more best player available versus just drafting purely for need. But when you look at what the Draft Network has as best player available, it's almost all quarterbacks and running backs. And obviously, we're not taking a quarterback because we already did that. We could take a running back here. Damian Martinez is on the board along with Cam Scatabo, who we know had did he have a formal top 30 with the Titans?
It was a visit. Yeah, it was an in-person visit, according to Paul Kaharski.
Dylan Sampson, a local guy. We already took his former teammate in James Pierce Jr., but I don't think going running back is the best move here with the 4th. Like, it's just not the best use of draft capital. Tell me a little bit, Justin, do you know anything about Ty Robinson here, the Nebraska interior D lineman?
Yeah, I'll say this right now. I love how realistic the simulator is. People are going to be surprised how early he goes, though. I think he's going to go in the 2nd round. Tony Pauline is reporting that the Seattle Seahawks are infatuated with him. Bit of an older prospect, 6 years in college, so maybe he does go later than Tony thinks. But I think 7.5 sacks this past year, career high in TFLs as well, and tackles. The guy's got inside and outside versatility. He's about 280, 285. Just a really good, versatile football player. Again, on the older side, but he's just going to be a damn good football player at the next level.
So if we're taking best player available approach here, I think he probably is. We know the Titans have been looking into the interior D-line class more than probably anyone expected. We don't know if that has to do with a potential Jeffrey Simmons trade. Paul Koharski reported last Friday that other executives in the league don't believe that Simmons is on the market, so maybe there will not be a Jeffrey Simmons trade, but regardless, the Titans could probably still use depth there. Although, I mean, Tavondre Sweat, Keandre Coburn, like, they have guys, but they're doing their homework on this position group, and for that reason, I think they're going to draft one earlier than maybe we expect, regardless of a Simmons trade. So I'm going to follow suit and take Ty Robinson here.
Yeah, he's just a really good football player. I gave you the numbers already. He was big at the combine. So I think like 27, 28 bench press reps. He ran under 5 seconds in the 40. And again, this guy's about 200, I think it was 288 is the number I think he weighed in at the combine. So just an outstanding football player.
Wow. So you're telling me it's a good pick here. I'm looking at the board, and yeah, Justin. So I want to go best player available here, and I'm going to just look at who the linebackers are. Chandler Martin out of Memphis is a local prospect name that sticks out to me. I don't know if this is too early. The mock draft machine has him as the 4th best linebacker left, but
you know, I don't know where he's going to go, but I will say I'm a massive fan. I mean, the pro day testing numbers were through the roof. I mean, pretty much everything he did would have been like top 3 among linebackers at the NFL Combine. He was a snub. He should not have been snubbed from the Combine, in my opinion. He was sideline to sideline this year, big-time tackle numbers. He's one of my favorite underrated prospects in this class. He deserves a lot more attention than he's getting.
The only other position group I would look at here is the tight ends. Like, I just feel like the Titans are going to take a tight end, maybe even before the 5th round, like earlier than we think. But I don't think there's great value here right now. So I am going to go ahead and take Chandler Martin.
Yeah, very good football player. I think Titans clearly have a hole at linebacker. It's kind of touch and go there with the 2 guys they picked last year. What do they think about Otis Reese? We'll see what they do there, but Martin would come in and compete, certainly.
All right, we're back on the clock here in the fifth round, and Damian Martinez has been staring me down for 3 rounds now, or 3 straight picks now. I do think the Titans are going to look at the running back class. I don't know if they're going to draft one or if they're going to just try to target a priority undrafted free agent guy, but we've already taken Cam Ward. We've already taken Xavier Restrepo. We know the Titans have said they want a big-bodied running back to come in. Damian Martinez is 6 foot, over 200 pounds. He can run hard between the tackles. He can also catch the ball out of the backfield. And again, that chemistry with your rookie quarterback. Maybe this is too many Miami players in one draft class, but I'm going to go ahead and take Damian Martinez, and let's recreate some elements of the offense that led the nation in scoring this past season.
Well, he certainly fits the bill of what they're looking for in a running back, right? They want one of those big body between the tackles guys. So I think he might be getting a little carried away with the Miami guys, but he does fit the profile of what they're searching for.
All right, Justin, I'm going to go ahead and confess that I sort of have my eye on 2 guys for these last 2 picks that I think are both going to be available. And maybe I'm not necessarily going best player available anymore, but with this next pick, I'm going to take a cornerback that we discussed on the pod not too long ago in Robert Longerbeam out of Rutgers. Tell the people why I'm taking him here.
Yeah, he had a virtual meeting with the Titans. From what I understand, they do like him quite a bit. I think he's going to play nickel at the next level. I'll say that. Maybe a little bit of outside flexibility, but he's a little light in the pants, I think, to live outside on a full-time basis. But hey, they've got Roger McCreary going into a contract year. We don't necessarily know if they're going to re-sign him. I'm sure Titans fans want that to happen, but they've made a lot of the decisions this offseason that we didn't see coming. Certainly on special teams, not a foregone conclusion that they're keeping Roger McCreary. So could make some sense to add a Robert Longerbeam here.
Yeah, and you always need depth at the cornerback position. L'Jarius Sneed missed a ton of time last season. He's dealing with a potentially weird legal situation that we haven't even addressed on the Music City Audible podcast yet, where he's being sued for, alleged gunshot incident. So you can always use more depth, especially at cornerback. And like you said, looking ahead to the future, if Roger McCreary in a contract year doesn't return to the Titans or God forbid, is traded on draft night. Who knows what this team's going to do? I think taking another cornerback here makes sense. For my last pick, I'm going to take a guy that has had reported interest from the Titans, whose measurables I absolutely love, and that is Andrew Armstrong, the wide receiver out of Arkansas. I'm a big fan of this guy, especially this late in the draft. I feel like he has so much untapped upside that I'm taking the chance with my last pick of this draft. I don't know why it keeps scrolling me back up. That I'm taking Andrew Armstrong here.
Yeah, the Titans, again, had a virtual meeting with him. He led the SEC in a bunch of categories this year, receiving yards per game. He's a big guy. He's about 6'4", 205. Had a virtual meeting with the Titans. Not enough interest, not enough excitement on social media for this guy, considering what he did in the SEC this year. I think he's a little bit stiff on tape, a little stiffer than maybe the athletic testing indicated. But anytime you've got size like that and you produce at the level that he did in the SEC, you can color me intrigued.
That's how I feel too. And you've already gotten the guy that you think you can count on in Xavier Restrepo. Still looking for that X profile type of receiver. I don't know how much you're expecting a rookie 6th-round pick to come in and contribute from day one, but at least he's got the size and the measurables and some of the production to back it up. So here's my final draft class, Justin. Obviously, the first pick, we got Cam Ward. Second pick, we took James Pierce Jr., the edge out of Tennessee. With our first pick of the 4th round, Xavier Restrepo, reuniting him with Cam Ward. With our next pick, we took Ty Robinson, an interior defensive lineman who fell too far for my liking, so I had to snatch him up. Then we took Chandler Martin, a linebacker out of Memphis. Titans have obvious needs at the linebacker position. Second pick of the 5th round, Damian Martinez, the running back out of Miami. We got the trifecta Miami producers here. The only one we missed was Elijah Arroyo, but that's okay. And the only position group I missed, really, I think, is tight end in this class. But Robert Longerbeam with the next pick, cornerback out of Rutgers.
Bobby Longbeam.
And finally,
Bobby Longbeam, as I like to call him.
Bobby Longbeam. That's a great nickname. And finally, Andrew Armstrong, the receiver out of Arkansas. So, yeah, didn't take a tight end. I do think the Titans will probably take a tight end. I think the Titans will probably pick more picks than this, and we'll get into this on tomorrow's episode with bold predictions, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But this is my class, Justin. Final thoughts, final grades here as I set up your class.
You know what excites me about it is I think my class is going to look very different than yours, and it's going to be better than yours, and everyone's going to agree with me in the comments below. They're going to tell me why I nailed it. I've been sitting here like an evil character, cartoon villain, just watching you do this draft, thinking I'm going to do so much better. So I'm excited to give it my. You did get some good football players, though. All kidding aside, I love Ty Robinson. I love Chandler Martin. I think the Titans are probably going to prioritize something a little bit different, which is why I'm going to be going in some different directions than you did. But you got good football players. I love that you threw in Bobby Longbean, like I said. They did have a virtual with him, as I alluded to, and a bunch of Andrew Armstrong they met with as well. So definitely some good stuff there. I'm sure they met with Damian Martinez along the way at some point. He was at the All-Star game, right? So they would have seen him at the Senior Bowl. So
Yeah.
But I'm excited to get into mine here, and you have to make the screen nice and big for me so I can actually see the prospects. But I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and I'm excited too that you're talking about presenting a different scenario, because that's sort of the whole point of us both doing a mock draft. All right, we will start.
I feel like
this
ours
thing
have been
off.
very similar. I feel like ours have been similar in years past. Not going to be the case this year. So I'm obviously going Cam Ward here at number 1 overall. I'm not going to stray from the obvious here. I'm hoping I get lucky and Igbuka or Burden fall to me. Let's see if that happens. I got to tell us, we got to update this. I think Igbuka's going a little too early in these. I don't think I've seen him yet, have I?
I did one this morning where, there goes James Pierce Jr. It looks like you're going to make it.
Wow.
There he is.
That's
this is a little ridiculous, but Matthew Golden falling to this spot, but also Igbuka.
Yeah, Golden's probably not going to be there. And Burden, right? They're all there for me. That is funny. That's almost unfair to you. So hold on. I should have asked this question before. Is this predictive, or is this what I would do?
I think we should try to do a little bit of a mix, like what you would do if you were the Titans.
If the board fell this, okay.
Yeah, but also sort of like predictive, because it doesn't really help our audience that much to just only do what we would do and not give them a scenario we think is realistic.
So I'll throw both at you, because I want to be clear. I would go with Igbuka in this situation. He's one of my top-ranked receivers. I'm going to go with Luther Burden because I'm also high on him at A. B, I think it's more realistic that he's actually there at 35. And C, Titans brought him in for a visit. So, like Dan Brugler told us on our latest episode, it does signal some level of interest. Now, of course, the Titans would have brought him in to clear up some of the character questions and concerns, and maybe it didn't go well, and he's off their board. We don't know. But the fact that they brought him in at all strongly indicates there is some level of interest there. So I'm going to go with Burden here. I think there's a great chance he's a Tennessee Titan on Friday.
And before I make this pick, I'll just clarify for our audience. Like, obviously, in the real world, you would take Matthew Golden here, right? But we don't expect him in a million years to actually be on the board at 35, so we're just pretending like he's not. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I'll be honest. I'm in love with this mock draft machine. I think there's almost, it's incredibly realistic. That's probably one of almost none else that we've got to update before Thursday, and probably have him go a little earlier than this.
All right, so Luther Burden off the board. Justin, I've given my concerns on Luther Burden, and I don't want to say that I'm like coming around or changing my mind or whatever on him, but like, I get it if they draft him. I understand, and I said this, I don't want it to be taken misconstrued. Like, I did say he has a ton of upside, and if he lands in the right situation, he could be a great player. I'm just concerned that some of the other stuff will limit his ability to translate to the NFL, the slot fade production, the behind the line of scrimmage target production. But I do admit he's an exciting player after the catch. And if the Titans end up taking him with the 35th pick, I'm not going to be upset about it, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're coming around. No, I'm kidding. I agree with you. There are still concerns about the profile. Some of it's a projection. We talked about this on the last couple episodes. But I'm choosing to trust the upside. And I'm going to have you take me to edge here because, obviously in the 4th round, I took the receiver where you took the edge. I've got to get an edge, guys. So as I'm looking here at this class, I'm going to get you to scroll down a bit. You're pausing me. Go ahead. Yes.
Can I say something really quick just before you get into the edge class? Like, when we look at the whole board here, Harold Fannin Jr. on the board, like, is this too early for Harold Fannin Jr.? Are you prioritizing the positional need at edge? I'm not criticizing if that's what you're doing. Like, in a best player available scenario where the Titans need a lot of positional help, Are you considering Harold Fannin Jr. at all, or are you just like, no, take me to edge?
I'm not. I'll tell you why. I'm not as high on him as others, and
Oh,
I don't think like you're painting it as it's kind of surprising that he's here or whatever. I don't think it's a surprise that he's here. I have some concerns. Did not test very well athletically, and he's a little bit small. So I know the production in college was super exciting. He was the focal point of that passing attack. I'm not convinced that it's going to translate. So I'm not in the situation here where I think he's the best player available. There are a couple edges here that I like.
there's
I
a
really
couple.
like Antoine.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a couple
go
at the
ahead.
top that we talked about on last Friday's episode in depth going in the edge
Exactly.
class.
So I really like Antoine Powell Ryland. He's just a super high motor, and it never stops revving, and the production is there. It's a little undersized. I wish the LSU rusher available was the other one that I talked about. Braden Swinson, right, was the one we talked about on the last episode, who I'm just infatuated with. I think deserves more credit. Since he's not here, I'm going to throw you guys a curveball. I did talk about Jordan Birch a little.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. 8.5 sacks this past year at Oregon. I think he's got the best bull rush in this entire class. I'm quite high on Jordan Birch. I haven't heard any reported interest between the Titans and him. Maybe they're hiding it. Maybe they do like him, and maybe he's one of the visits that didn't leak. I don't know, but I like Jordan Birch quite a bit, and that would be the pick that I make here. Just like I said, I am nailing this mock draft. Where I'm going to get you to take me right now is to the interior linemen, interior offensive linemen. Actually, they've met with a couple of them throughout this process. I wanted to see who's available here. And unfortunately, scroll down. Yeah, I don't know that I'm seeing anyone that I was hoping to see. I thought I was going to see a couple of the guys for sure that I like. God, wow, they're all off the board. Is Miles Frazier, Jackson Slater? Can you maybe search some names? None of them are there. AUC, but Miles Frazier, Jackson Slater. Who's the other name I had? Caleb Rogers is not here. Tate Ratledge. Are they all off the board?
Yep.
Wow. Wow, never mind. Now I don't feel as smart as I thought I was. So I'm gonna get you to take me to interior D linemen, since they have shown quite a bit of interest there. Okay, very interesting. There are some very interesting names here. You know what? I'm gonna go. You don't got to show me anything else. I don't love that I'm doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it's a mixture of predictive and realistic. They've shown quite a bit of interest in Cam Jackson, the D tackle out of Florida. Visit. Dane Brugler's very high on him. I believe he's a top 100 player on the board. I'm a little concerned that he's got a bit of a nose tackle profile, and they've already got Devondre Sweat there. But I guess not everyone agrees with me. Dane Brugler doesn't agree with me. He thinks there's some pass rushing upside here again. They had him in on a 30 visit. So let's go with Cam Jackson out of Florida.
Wow, so we both took a interior defensive lineman there in the 4th round. Justin, I thought you said this was going to be a way different looking draft.
It is a little bit different, okay? And I was really hoping to go interior O-line there. I'm shocked none of those guys I want. I thought one of them for sure, Miles Frazier. I thought Caleb Rogers would be there, Tate Ratledge. A little disappointed that wasn't the case. But, hey, I got to do what any good GM does. I had to pivot and make the best selection I could possibly make.
Yeah. Hey, maybe in real life you would have traded up into the end of the 3rd round when you started seeing those names going off the board. But, all right, you're on the clock here, 5th round pick. First of 2 5th-round picks. Harold Fannin Jr. still sitting there at the top of the board. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to take me back to interior O-lineman, and at safety, I think will be the sort of the backup. So we got Thomas Perry, Jacob Byer. We got, yeah, I'm not high enough on any of these, I don't think, to be totally blunt with you. So take me over to safety. Let me see here. Some good football players here. Yeah, I'm going to go with one that I like quite a bit. I'm going to go with Caleb Ransaw out of Tulane. I think the Titans, they might ignore the safety need this year. I'm not going to pretend like they're definitely going to take one. They may not. But Amani Hooker contract year, Xavier Woods 2-year contract. They can get out of it after the first year. I'm not super confident in what they have at that spot. So I feel good about Caleb Ransaw. I liked what he did at the Senior Bowl quite a bit. I am back on the board. Is this my second pick of the 5th round? Is this?
Yep. You got 3 picks left.
Take me to running back. I'm going to go to running back. I think there's a decent chance that they do end up taking one of these guys. I'm not going to take Damian Martinez. I know that's what you did, so I'm going to go down. I'm going to go with Jordan James out of Oregon. I'm kind of cheating here a little because they had Jordan James in for a visit. Now, there were some questions whether or not that's a local visit or not. We don't know for sure if it counted towards the 30 designation But the fact that they met with him at all strongly suggests that they like him. I'm back here on the board. I'm going to double down at wide receiver. You don't got to show me the all. I'm going to go with a guy that I'm convinced they're going to take. I thought you were going to do it. I'm going to go with Jamal Pritchett out of South Alabama. They've had how many now? 3 different touch points with him. They met with him at the Senior Bowl. They had him in for a 30 visit recently, and they had also done a virtual meeting with him at some point. Now, I don't know if they're targeting him in undrafted free agency. I know you had to scroll down quite a bit to get to him there, but he had big-time production this past year, 1,000 receiving yards. He returns punts. Again, they've met with him 3 different times, so I think there's some interest there. I can't believe I'm doing this. Take me back to interior O-line one final time to see if there's at least a sleeper that I like. Scroll down for me just a little bit, but I don't think this is the direction I'm going to be going in. I like some of these guys really late, but you know what? Actually, yes, I think they had some interest. I believe I saw something on Joshua Gray out of Oregon State. He's versatile enough to play both guard and center. I think they've got a need there. You saw what they did earlier this week. We didn't even touch on it. It's no need, but they cut Nicholas Petit-Frere. I finally no one's got to tell me to learn his name anymore. He's no longer here in Tennessee. Finally, it's time that he's gone. Cut ties with a huge draft bust. And they brought in a bunch of interior guys, Sam Mustipher, Brendan James. They brought in a tackle, too, and Eli Udoh. I think shows you emphasis on the O-line. They don't have a lot behind Lloyd Cushenberry right now, who's coming off a season-ending injury. They re-signed Corey Levin. I think Sam Mustipher will compete there. So will Brendan James. I think they got to add a draft pick to compete to that mix. In an ideal world, I would have got it in the 4th round. I was super disappointed that I didn't have, a Miles Frazier or a Caleb Rogers there. It is what it is. I end up going with the Joshua Gray a little bit later, who I think would come in and push Corey Levin for a role.
There you go. So this is your draft class. Cam Ward, Luther Burden, a pairing that many Titans fans are excited about, and I will try to get there as well. Jordan Birch, the edge out of Oregon that we talked about on our edge rusher profiles episode last week. Cam Jackson, interior D-line out of Florida. Caleb Ransaw, wow, 3 straight picks on the defensive side of the ball. And then back to offense with Jordan James, your second Oregon pick of this draft, Jamal Pritchett, and Joshua Gray. Justin, I'm going to ask you about a prospect that we haven't talked about on the show that I know a lot of our listeners are fans of. You passed on Torrey Horton to take Jamal Pritchett. Is it an injury concern with Horton? What is the thing that made you like Pritchett more? Is it more of like, well, they've shown a lot of interest in this guy, so I went with it? Like, where are your thoughts on Torrey Horton, and why'd you pass on him?
Yeah, it was the latter. If this was real life and I was drafting for myself, I would have taken Torrey Horton over Jamal Pritchett. I like him a lot as a wide receiver. Thought he had good testing numbers at the combine, recovered in time for that after having a season-ending injury. He had 1,000-yard seasons 2022 and 2023. He would have had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons if he didn't get hurt this past year. So for me, this was and like maybe Horton is available late due to the injury and stuff. But for me, this was more just realism.
Yep. So there you go. Our dueling mock drafts, Justin. Well, I guess we should just ask the people, who wins? Which draft do you like better, Justin's or mine? To refresh your memory before we go, I had Cam Ward, James Pierce Jr., Xavier Restrepo, Ty Robinson, Chandler Martin, Damian Martinez, Robert Longerbeam, and Andrew Armstrong. Melo had Cam Ward, Luther Burden, Jordan Birch, Cam Jackson, Caleb Ransaw, Jordan James, Jamal Pritchett, and Joshua Gray. Those are the dueling mocks. Let us know which one you like more in the comments below. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Give this video a thumbs up, like. And Justin, real quick before we go, I'm drinking to draft week. It's draft week. It's finally here. We only have a few more days to wait, and we are going to be putting out content all week as we lead into the draft tomorrow. Bold predictions. Wednesday, reality check. And Thursday, we will be reacting to the pick, whether it's Cam Ward or, well, no, it's Cam Ward. So we're going to be reacting to that on Thursday. Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Check out sinkersbeverages.com or the link in this podcast description to join the in crowd for exclusive perks. Justin, final thoughts on the dueling mocks before we say goodbye.
Do what you always do. Let us know in the comments who won this mock, who are your favorite picks. I think, Graver, last year you made like a graphic where you put each side by side. We'll tweet that out as well to see what people think of the 2 mock drafts, and we want to get your opinions. And the most fun aspect to me how many of these guys will actually end up Titans? I think Cam Ward was obviously a straightforward one. Do we land any other picks at all? Remember that one year where I had like 4 of them? Like, I don't know that that'll ever happen again. I was on fire that year. That was one.
Yeah.
I had Laurel Murchison in like the 5th round, I think, of that mock. And I think there was at least 1 or 2 other late rounders that I hit on that draft. It was insane. Felt like I was in John Robinson's ear that year, but and that didn't end up being a very good draft, unfortunately. I nailed it when it's bad. I get it wrong when it's good. This is the Music City Audible. Appreciate you guys for tuning in.
All right, everyone. Until tomorrow, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.